morning students, myself Dr. Amruta Doizer. I will be guiding you for kinesiology and kinesiotherapy. Today we are going to start with a series of lectures for basic concepts in biomechanics. The part 1 we are dealing with kinetics and kinematics. The specific learning objectives of today's lecture are: a student should be able to define biomechanics, what are the areas of biomechanics like kinetics and kinematics and force, and also you should be able to describe what are the types of forces, the planes and axes in which the movement is occurring, and what are the types of forces. Now let us start with the definition. When we are doing day-to-day life movements like bending, writing, walking, running, in all these day-to-day activities, our biomechanics is coming into picture. Now what is biomechanics? It is the study of mechanics of human body is called as biomechanics. There are two areas of biomechanics called as kinematics and kinetic. Now what is kinematic? Description of motion without regard for forces producing motion is called as kinematic. Description of motion without regard for forces producing motion is called as kinematic. On the contrary, the kinetic is concerned with forces producing motion and maintaining equilibrium. So in short, in kinematic there is no study of forces producing motion, while in kinetic there is study of forces producing motion. Now how the kinematic is described? Kinematic of any movement like flexion, extension, abduction, adduction and rotation is described in terms of these 5 variables. The first variable is type of motion, second is location of motion, third is direction of motion, then the magnitude of motion, and lastly the rate of change of displacement. Now we will study in detail about each type of variable. There are 3 types of motion. That the first one is translatory motion. Now what is translatory motion? It is the movement of a segment in a straight line. For example, a mobile is kept on the table and it is just going forward. So this is the example of translatory motion. In translatory motion, each point on the segment moves through the same distance at the same time in parallel path. So this is an example of translatory motion. You can see this is the forearm hand segment approaching towards the glass. So each segment is moving through the same distance to achieve to the object. Second type of motion is a rotatory motion. It is also called as angular displacement. What is rotatory motion? It is the movement of an object or a segment around the fixed axis in a curved path. It is the movement of an object or a segment around a fixed axis in a curved path. Now what happens in rotatory motion? Each point on the segment moves through the same angle at the same time at a constant distance from the axis. For example, a ball is rotating around its axis. Now you can see the example in human body. Like a person is doing elbow flexion. Now this forearm hand segment is rotating around the axis of elbow joint. So this is the second type of motion, that is rotatory motion. The third type is the combination of both, that is translatory and rotatory, and called as curvilinear motion, or also called as plane motion. When the non-segmented object moves in combination of both translation and rotation, then curvilinear motion occurs. Here the segment rotates about an axis, at the same time moves through the space at the same time. You can see here the example. The person is doing first wrist flexion, then elbow flexion and shoulder flexion, and drinking the water. So this is going into the parabolic path. So this is the example of curvilinear motion. The example of curvilinear motion outside the body is throwing a ball in space. So pure translatory and pure rotatory motion doesn't occur in human body when we are doing day-to-day activities, but what motion occurs is a curvilinear motion. So students, this is the first type of first variable of kinematic, that is the curvilinear motion. Now going to the second variable, that is the direction of motion. Now direction of movement of a lever around an axis is described either in clockwise direction or counterclockwise direction. Now how the axis is defined? An axis is a line around which the movement takes place. An axis is a line around which movements takes place. So these are certain basic terminologies like flexion, extension. Now what is flexion? Flexion refers to rotation of one or both bony levers around the joint axis so that ventral surface of the body are approximated. While extension refers to the rotation of the bony lever in the same plane but in opposite direction is called as extension. Abduction refers to rotation of one or both segment of a joint around an axis so that the distal segment moves away from the midline. The next terminology is adduction, which refers to rotation of the bony lever in the same plane but in opposite direction. The medial rotation refers to rotation towards the body's midline, while the lateral rotation refers to rotation away from the body's midline. Now, these are some axes in the body, like this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, and this is the z-axis. This is the norma frontalis, where you can see this is the coronal suture, this is the central suture, and these are the bones of the skull. The third variable of kinematic is the location of motion. The kinematic description of motion also includes the plane of motion, and the plane is a surface in which it lies at right angle to the axis. You can see here the plane, the universal z coordinates corresponds to the sagittal plane. The sagittal planes divides the body into right and left halves. The universal y coordinates corresponds to the frontal plane or the coronal plane, which divides the body into front and back halves. coordinates corresponds to transverse plane. You can see here in the picture, and this plane divides the body into upper and lower halves. Now let us see in combination about the axis and planes of the certain movements. In frontal axis and sagittal plane, the movement occurring is flexion and extension. In sagittal axis and horizontal plane, abduction adduction occurs, while in vertical axis and transverse plane, the medial and the lateral rotation occurs. So these are the first three variables of kinematic, that is type of motion, direction of motion and the location of motion. Now let us go ahead to the fourth variable of the kinematic, that is magnitude of motion. Magnitude is nothing but the quantity of the motion. Now how to measure this quantity is by universal method of range of motion. Either it is expressed either in degrees or radians. A radian is the ratio of an arc to the radius of the circle. 1 radian is equal to 57.3 degree, while 1 degree is equal to 0.01745 radian. The magnitude of the rotatory motion that a body segment moves through is called as range of motion, and it is measured in standardized clinical method by goniometry. So this is one example of measurement of elbow flexion by use of goniometry. Coming to the last variable of kinematic, that is rate of change of displacement. Now let us see certain terminologies before going to that. Now what is speed? Speed is displacement per unit time is called as speed, while velocity is displacement per unit time in a given direction is called as velocity. So for velocity there is direction. There are two types of velocity, linear velocity and angular velocity. Linear velocity is expressed in meter per second, while the angular velocity, that is the velocity of a rotating segment, is expressed in degrees per second. Again, coming to the next terminology, that is acceleration. So the change in velocity per unit time is called as acceleration. So same like velocity, acceleration is also of two types, that is linear and angular. The linear acceleration is expressed meter per second square, while the angular acceleration is expressed degrees per second square. So these are the 5 variables of kinematic. The first is type of motion, second is location of motion, then the direction of motion, then type of motion and rate of change of displacement. So this is nothing but the kinematic. Now going ahead to the kinetic. We have learned about the definition of kinetic. Kinetic is the study of motion with regard to forces producing motion or maintaining equilibrium. So the kinetic gives us understanding of why motion is occurring. The concept of kinetic is well described by push and pull mechanism by tug of war. Now let us see. One, you must have seen this tug of war. So this is nothing but the tug of war. There are two systems. There are two teams, team A and B, and those are pulling towards each other. So uh, the forces are produced over the rope, on the ground surface, and also on the hands. So this is the best example of tug of war, is the best example of force. Let us see the video. Initially, the system is in equilibrium when both the teams are pulling in equal forces. So this states the law of inertia. All players are pushing forces on the ground. This is called as every Newton's third law, that is every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Still the system is in equilibrium. Both the teams are pulling into equal amount of force. So law of inertia. So still forces are into balance. Team is a winner and there is unbalance of forces, and this is nothing but law of acceleration. So tug of war depicts three laws of motion, that is law of inertia, law of reaction and law of acceleration. So we are learning about the kinetics, and kinetic is the study of motion with regard to forces producing motion or maintaining equilibrium. Now coming to what are the types of forces. There are two types of forces, external and the internal forces. When we are doing some movement, the movements are usually done by the muscles, that is the internal force, and movements are controlled by ligaments. So again, muscles and ligaments are the examples of internal forces. Also, the external environment is acting on our body. Like first external environment which is acting on our body is the gravity. Also wind, water, these are the examples of external environment. Coming to the some of the therapeutic examples, like external resistance given by therapists is an example of external force, and other objects and also friction of the surface, these are the examples of external forces. So there are two types of forces, external and the internal. Now let us see how we depict the force. The forces are the vector quantities. Vector meaning the quantity which has got direction is called called as vector, while the scalar meaning there is no direction. So all forces are vector quantities and those are defined by point of application on the object, action line and the direction, and the magnitude, it is expressed in newtons or pounds. So it is nothing but the quantity of the force. Now this vector is represented by an arrow. So the force is also represented as base, that is the point of application, then shaft and arrow, that is the action line and the direction, and lastly the length of the force, it tells about the magnitude, and it is expressed in either newtons or pound. Now let us see the example. The man is pushing the book with the help of his finger. So this is the base, this is the arrow indicating the vector, and the shaft of the arrow indicates the quantity. Now this is one force vector, that is FHX. This is again the muscle on the board. So this is the vector MB. Now coming to the next concept, that is force of gravity. As we all know, gravity is acting on every object on the earth, including non-living and the living objects. So what is gravity? It is an attraction of the mass of the earth for the mass of the other object. On earth, gravity has got magnitude of 32 feet per second square. The force of gravity gives the object the weight. The weight of the mass of an object times the acceleration of the gravity. So the weight is equal to mass into 32 feet per second square, and it is expressed in terms of pounds per newtons per kilogram. As for the force, the gravity is a vector quantity which has got direction and again explained in terms of point of application, action line and direction, and the magnitude. Now the point of application is a point of application of the force of gravity is called as center of gravity. The center of gravity, the point of application of the force of gravity is called as center of gravity or also center of mass. The action line and the direction of force of gravity of an object are vertically downwards towards the center of earth, and it is called as line of gravity. So the point of application is nothing but center of gravity, while the action line and direction is nothing but line of gravity. And thirdly, it is expressed as magnitude. Now what is center of gravity? Center of gravity is a hypothetical point around which the mass of the whole object is supposed to be concentrated. It is the point at which force of gravity acts. Now let us see the example of three different objects like symmetrical object, asymmetrical object, and a different type of object like crutch. Now in symmetrical object, the center of gravity lies at the geometric center of the object. For example, the ball. In asymmetrical object like a stick, it lies towards the heavier end. While the objects like crutch, the COG is nothing but the hypothetical point and it doesn't lie within the object. Now let us see the example. This is the symmetrical object like a ball where the center of gravity lies at the center. Now this is something asymmetrical object like one side is heavier, another side is light. So the center of gravity lies towards the heavier object. And this is some asymmetrical object, a different object like a crutch where the center of gravity lies outside the object. Now coming to the concept of line of gravity, how it is defined: the action line and the direction of force of gravity on an object are always vertically downwards towards the center of earth, regardless of orientation in the space of object. So it is nothing but the line drawn from the center of gravity towards the base of support. So this is nothing but the plumb line. You must have seen in construction site what is a plumb line. It is just a metal wire. To the end of that a heavier object is attached. So it is a plumb line, represents points of application, direction and the action line of the gravity. Now let us go to the important part, that center of gravity of human body. When all segments of the body are combined and body is taken as a single rigid object in anatomical position, the COG of the human body lies anterior to the second sacral vertebra. Anterior to second sacral vertebra. Very important. This is the commonly asked question, that where is the center of gravity of human body is located? The answer is anterior to the second sacral vertebra. The COG does not change its location in the rigid body, like when we are sitting, when we are standing, the location of COG is constant, but as we all know, we are not constantly sitting or constantly standing, but we are moving around. We are walking, we are running, we are doing sit to stand, we are bending, we are lifting objects. So LOG, that is line of gravity, does not remain vertically downwards always, and in reality the location of COG changes, so the line of gravity also changes. Now let us see the segmental center of gravity of the human body. When each segment of the body has got its own segment. So if we consider arm, forearm and hand segment, every segment has got its own center of gravity. Secondly, when two adjacent segments are combined, the new larger segment will have a center of gravity. Will have one single center of gravity. Just now we have seen the example of stick, which has got heavier end at one side and the little lighter end at the other side. So the center of gravity lies at heavier object. So when two adjacent segments are combined, like arm and forearm, the new larger segment, that is arm and forearm, will have one center of gravity. When all segments are combined, then like arm, forearm and hand, all segments are combined, then there will be one single center of gravity. And last assumption is when object is composed of two or more linked or movable segments, the center of gravity lies outside the segment. Now let us see the example. This is the segment of arm, forearm and hand. This is center of gravity for arm, center of gravity for forearm, center of gravity for arm. Now if two segments are combined, then there is one center of gravity for arm and one combined center of gravity for forearm and hand. Now if body or this segment is considered as a rigid object, as one single unit, there is only one center of gravity for arm, forearm and hand. So after studying these three conditions, going to some different condition, like when a person is doing elbow flexion, then one center of gravity for arm, one for forearm and hand and one for the forearm. But combinedly, this center of gravity lies outside the object. So this is the final new center of gravity of the object. So this is the idea about the segmental center of gravity. So when all segments of the body are considered, it lies anterior to the S2, that is the second sacral vertebra. When the body is considered as a rigid upper body and rigid lower body, the new COG of two segments are again considered, but the combined COG again lies at S2. The third assumption, when the trunk is inclined forward, the new COG is created and it lies outside the body. And the fourth assumption, when there is more disproportionate rearrangement of the body segment, the new COG lies outside the body. Now let us see the examples. This is the diagram of center of gravity which lies at second sacral vertebra, anterior to second sacral vertebra. Now, if the body is considered as a rigid upper segment and rigid lower body segment, two center of gravity are created, but the main center of gravity lies at anterior to S2. Now, if the person is leaning forward, as I have told you, we are doing with lots of activities in day-to-day life. When we are bending forward, there is one center of gravity for lower body, one center of gravity for upper body, and when the person is bending forward, the center of gravity is shifted forward and doesn't lie within the body. It goes outside the body. Coming to very different example of a football player. Now how the center of gravity of this person is. Now there is one center of gravity called as A for one lower limb, one center of gravity for another lower limb. A C is the center of gravity for upper body, and there is combined, all these three are combined as a B, C. And from this combined center of gravity, what is line of gravity? When a plumb line drawn from the center of gravity to the base of support is the line of gravity. So this is one example of extreme rearrangement of the body segment where the center of gravity is shifted outside the base of support also, and it is outside the body. So here the line of gravity is falling outside the base of support, so the object is said to be very unstable. So herewith we have completed with our first part of biomechanics. We have learned about the kinetics and kinematics. Once again I will revise what is biomechanics. Study of motion of human body is called as biomechanics. Study of mechanics of human motion is called as biomechanics. It has got two areas, kinetics and kinematics. Kinematic is the study of motion without regard for forces producing motion, while kinetic is the study of motion with regard to forces producing motion. Kinematic has got 5 variables. First is type of motion, then direction of motion, location of motion, magnitude and rate of change of displacement, while the kinetic has got, in kinetic we have learned about the forces. Force is very well explained by tug of war. It is nothing but the push and pull mechanism. There are two types of forces, external and internal. External forces are manual resistance by therapists, some mechanical devices like weight cuff, TheraBand, etc. Or another example, water, wind are also examples of external forces. On the contrary, internal forces are muscles and the ligaments. Then we have learned about the force vectors. We have learned about the force of gravity. Then we have learned about the center of gravity which lies just anterior to the second sacral vertebra. Then we have seen the rearrangement of the force of gravity, different segmental centers of the gravity, and the center of gravity of human body. So students, you all can learn this chapter from the book Basic Concepts in Biomechanics by Cynthia Norkie. If you have any doubt in this, you can anytime can ask to me. So herewith we will conclude with today's lecture. Thank you.